I want to welcome everybody to the Board of Regents Institutional Infrastructure Committee meeting. I am legally required to say that we are going live in Zoom and over YouTube. And if there's anyone listening at the Regents, as well as the presenters, are participating in these meetings by phone and by Zoom as well. It's always good to see our Vice President, Mary Jo Gonzalez. She is phenomenal. She's fantastic, energetic, innovative, imaginative. I don't know, she needs to figure out a way to patent all of her energy, because I don't know where she gets all of it and can have it for over so long a period of time. But the university is well served by her intellect and her energy and her smiles and her enthusiasm. And as a regent, and having watched over the years, I deeply appreciate that. I've gone there sometimes saying, oh, well, another meeting. And then she comes in, you go, wow, you're really excited again. So I want to welcome everybody. Anybody else have any opening comments you wish to make? Okay. Madam Vice President, you can proceed.
Thank you, Regent Sims. My team is chuckling because they're like, this is the Mary Jo we get every day. I have to tell you what has been really exciting about this, and I had a pre-meeting, Regent Ramos and Regent Cannon with Regent Sims, was I am just so thrilled. We have really been planning for this for a year. And as you know, last year in March is when we had to begin to shutter our campuses based on the COVID outbreak that was happening nationally. We were one of the first states who it was hit, and it allowed us actually to be much more prepared now as we are reopening and reemerging in a variety of ways as we navigate this space. Today, I'm really going to start off with a few things. Erin, can you go to slide 2 for me? I want to talk generally about some of the concerns that our students have articulated to us and the difficult issues that they have been experiencing, frankly, during the COVID process. And part of why we're sharing this with you today is because we want you to know that all of our campuses were impacted by COVID. As we've talked in the general meetings, that there have been a significant increase in needs of students. And that's everything from housing and food security to financial assistance, because, for example, if they were a double income family and one of those incomes was lost due to layoffs in COVID, it really impacted our students and how they were able to be successful. It also directly, both as employees who lost positions, but also as students of family members who lost it. So there were concerns about technology, whether or not there were safe spaces. We do know that there was an increase nationally in domestic violence and intimate partner violence. And so we are aware that there were significant concerns and have been all attending to that in our own various ways. And our campuses are going to share that with you in the second half of the hour. The other thing, and this is Regent Sims is talking about the energy and excitement, being able to walk up to our Compton Union building, or when I'm on the TriCities campus, our student union building, or even Vancouver or the health sciences, we've all missed those hallway interactions. The ability to say, hey, how are you doing when we see a student who may not be doing well, to check in, to ask how they're feeling, what their experience is, or even waiting in line for my favorite garlic fries at our Compton Union gridiron. We've missed that. All of us on all of our campuses have missed that. So it means that it has been lower attendance, lower ability for them, even as peer-to-peers, to engage, as well for first-year students who some don't even know the fight song, transfer students, and especially those communities that really need one another to be successful in this current environment. There also is, and very directly, a mental health concern. We've talked about it a couple times at the Regents meetings. We do know that students are able to articulate their depression, their grief, their anxiety, their stress, loneliness, and isolation. And in knowing all of that, we have to think about how we're going to respond and support. So what we're going to do in this presentation is spend the first 30 minutes or so talking with the Pullman campus about what they've done to reopen this spring, and then give the second half of the hour to our campuses to talk about the experiences that they are planning for in fall 2021. Remember, each of our campuses in different communities, and so there isn't one particular guideline that we can follow. We have to emerge in a variety of spaces. Erin, can you go to the next next slide for me. What the key piece of this part of needing to turn the dial, and I want to be clear, that's the language that we're using in student affairs. It is not as simple as a switch on and off to open or to not open. It truly is a dial. And part of that dial means being able to move it forward, but also to turn it back. And what does that look like for students, for our university community when we turn the dial to open up? And then if we have an incident or occurrence, what do we do to turn that dial back? And so that's a new way of thinking for a lot of us, including all of our university structures. So we're excited to be able to lead that for the university. The good news is we have some amazing partners, and I will highlight those partners, including our environmental health and safety, the president's office, Haley Rupp, who is our truly our COVID czar, really leading efforts around our risk management and how we navigate that scenario. I do want to highlight that guidelines are constantly changing. There's an example there where University Recreation is operating within 6 fitness, 6 sports, 4 aquatics, 2 youth camps, and 3 outdoor recreation guidelines. So it's a total, and Ramon's going to talk a little bit about that when he discusses UREC. It's a substantial amount of work that our staff have to do to go through. The great news is we've had 0 transmission in our university recreation facilities, 0 transmission in our dining facilities. And so telling students this is why we're staying open is absolutely critical. And at this time, I'm going to hand it over. Actually, everybody who's on the call are my favorite team. So Dominic, Dom, do you want to talk a little bit about what we're doing on the 4th floor of the Cub?
Yes. Good morning, members of the Regents and my Cougar family. My name is Dominic Fungao Tao, but all my colleagues call me Dom, and I work in the Office of Multicultural Student Services. And as we continue to facilitate the best undergraduate experience possible by slowly turning the dial, like Mary Jo said, my team here has helped myself create what we call expanded services. Expanded services is an opportunity where our students can book a space using our Microsoft booking system. Currently right now, we're just piloting my student center within the AAPI Student Center, where students can book a space 24 hours in advance. We can have up to 6 people in our space so that they can hang out, meet new peoples, meet some of our staff members, or just study. And this has really helped us gain students opportunity to just get out of their space and to have a little bit of normalcy. Currently right now, we're just operating on 20 hours a week, and that's just with our AAPI Student Center. And we have already had over 50 different students who have booked our space and come utilize our center, which has been very helpful. And that has helped lead us into some other fun things. Aaron, if you can just switch to the next slide, please. So with our expanded services, it has helped us have student organizations utilize our space. It has helped us have hybrid student mentor meetings where students are on Zoom and in person. It even helped us set up what we had a kind of a lunch event with our Vice Provost, Mr. Saichi, here at Hillside at one of our dining halls. And it was really cool because we invited 10 students and a couple staff members to just fellowship with our new Vice Provost and to kind of get to know them. And this is helping us build community. A lot of our student mentors has helped put together care packages for our mentees to help get that out. And we did that in person. And this is a way for all of our students to be able to utilize this service so that we as a Cougar Nation can support our students through this tough time during COVID. And it's been super fun just having some of these experiences. We've had students in Everett participate in some of our virtual events, some students in Vancouver, and we are just trying to make sure that we are having one WSU to continue that, what Mary Jo has always said. So with that being said, I'd like to pass it to my awesome colleague, Miss Lucy Loretta.
Thank you, Dom. Good morning, everyone. My name is Lucy Loetta, she, her, hers. I'm the Executive Director with the Office for Access and Opportunity. And what that means is that we serve a lot of students that are first in their family to come to college. We serve students from low income, limited income backgrounds. We also have the CAMP program, which serves students from migrant, seasonal, farm working students. But 20 years ago, when I first started in TRIO as the SSS director, I don't think I knew what food insecurity was all about. But I certainly knew pretty quickly that it was tough to talk about self-actualizing or career development or what major students wanted when they had their most basic needs that weren't being met. So what started as a really small food pantry effort has now been 20 years in the running. And so that's really what I'm going to talk about today in terms of our food pantry, which is under what we are now calling the Cougs Feeding Cougs program. So that includes our meal swipe, our program through RDA, the food pantry, and some other initiatives that we hope to take off when we more reopen this year next. In terms of the pantry, though, one of the things that we had to move quickly just now a year ago in March was we wanted students to have access to this essential service, but we also were one of the offices that needed to close. So we collaborated quickly with the Dean of Students office, which was one of the offices on the Pullman campus that was going to remain open. We collaborated with the Women's Center, which had a pop-up pantry service. And then we also collaborated with the Center for Civic Engagement. And so since then, we've been meeting as a group every week to address our pantry services, what we could do. We also connect with a lot with the community center as well in terms of how we were going to do this, because this was an operation where students would come into the suite, they would grab what they needed from the shelves, they would come in as often as they like. And now all of a sudden we had to, like everyone else on a dime, figure out how we were going to still provide this service in a safe way. So we moved to a curbside pickup pre-order packaging effort, and that's still what we're doing a little bit of today, although I'm hoping that we're going to reopen and do that a little bit differently soon. But what we do now is that students go on the web, they select a day or time that they're going to come in, and we pre-package their meals, and then we take it out to the curbside. But then there was the issue of students that don't have transportation and or maybe quarantine. So then we also tapped into our Women's Center Cougs Ride program. And so we have a lot of delivery services. So there's been some evolution in terms of our food pantry effort where we have more mobile services. We actually can deliver packages. And we're really excited about maybe continuing that service as we move on because we know the need is still there. To date, we've delivered over 400 packages to students. And so and it's really been an increase. One of the questions I often get is, has an increase happened, or have you seen an increase of usage since the pandemic? And the answer is yes, in terms of new users and the students that were already in need needing to use it some more. Right here you have in the picture our Turkey Day. This was a great partnership that we had with the Council on Aging for the annual Tom's Turkey Meals. And so we were able to deliver or have pick up 69 turkeys. And this included all the trimmings for students. It included the turkey, all the sides, a lot of dairy products. And then we collaborated with the local hotel in Pullman. So that was our designated pickup spot. And 69 turkeys were made that day. And for many students, this was their first time ever cooking a turkey. So we made sure to include some recipes as well. So that was pretty exciting. And we hope, again, that continues in terms of our partnership with the the Community Action Center and the Council for Aging. So there's been some great partnerships. We've also this year incorporated AmeriCorps student members. So we have 3 positions, because one of the things that we do know, particularly when it comes to food insecurity and the stigma around that, is that if you hear from other peers, students are more likely to seek out services. So we're excited about our new AmeriCorps members this year and some of the other things that we have going on. But one of the things I'd just like to leave you with is we're doing everything that we can. I know across the WSU system, there's a lot of different pantry efforts. The Pullman Pantry has been operating for quite some time. And since the pandemic, we've been doing things a little bit differently. And some of those things I hope we continue in the years to come. So with that, I'm going to pass it on to Ramon.
Thanks, Lucy. So as she said, my name is Ramon Sodano, and I'm the coordinator of fitness services and education over at the Rec Center. So I help oversee the fitness departments, the weight room, and our well-being online, which works a lot with our global campus students. And I just want to first off start with this, and Mary Jo said it earlier, one thing that we do know with recreation, physical activity, just the social atmosphere that we get within our programs is very pertinent, not only to the mental health of our students, but also to the academic performance of our students. It's one of the reasons why we get this funding for rec centers like that across the nation, because we do know that exercise, physical activity, and just other ways to be able to get our meat vessels moving is linked to that academic performance. So we were honestly, when things went down last year, we were immediately trying to figure out ways to be able to still offer programs to our patrons. And we even had online fitness classes up within a week. Not only that, we employ about 300 people, and we understand that well-being is also, there's a financial sense of well-being. So we wanted to make sure to provide as many offerings to our student employees as quickly as possible. And we were able to do that. But I'm not really here to talk about what we've done in the past, but more of where we're going in the future as we're able to continue this dial on. And Mary Jo did allude to that we have had 0 transmissions traced back to any one of our university recreations facilities. And you have to understand that we were one of the first ones to open up. In July, we were opened up, and this is when all the crazy guidelines were going back and forth. And as Mary Jo referred to, we're working with multiple different guidelines for our outdoor for fitness. And it's not just one for each one of those areas, but it's multiple for each one of those areas. And I think our team has done a great job to be able to move that dial back and forth. But I think it really is starting to move forward, and we're moving in the right trajectory. And just to give you an idea of like what is being seen within our facilities and how it is evident that the students and our patrons want to utilize this, we've actually been seeing in the last month about over 1,000 users per day at the rec center and about 450 users per day at the Chinook Center. It's down from about, the typical 2,800 and 2,300 we have respectively at those areas, but we are working on 25% capacity. We've initiated, reservations that they have to utilize. We've moved equipment. We've made sure that there's temperature screenings, that they're filling out their attestations. There's multiple different avenues that our patrons have to go through before they come to our facilities to keep them as safe as possible. And I will say that the students and the faculty members have been very much abiding by it. Everyone's really bought in. They realize if we want to keep our doors open, this is what we have to do, and we're going to move through it together. And we've been getting a lot of good partnership with our students and our faculty here. So really happy to see that. And just to give you another asset, so I work more with the personal trainers and group fitness instructors, but we do have our intramural sports that are taking place as well. And we were able to start with our lower risk sports first, but we're starting to increase that. We're seeing over 300 teams being able to start doing things. 600 individuals have registered for intramural activities, and we're going to start pushing that forward to the more high risk sports as we can. But we're just really happy to get the students back in the facilities, back in our programs, because we know not only is it our passion to work with them, but we know it's very, very beneficial for their academic performance and their mental health as well. So with that, I'd like to pass it on to my colleague over in the Cub, Carrie Shaw.
Good morning, Carrie Shaw, Director of Facilities and Operations at the Compton Union Building. And we have been open for essential services since the very beginning, including the bookstore, banking, and dining outlets. So really a lot of our effort has been to, as guidance has changed and things have started to open up more, being creative in our ways to continue to keep as much open as possible while keeping everything safe, distance, but also creating a space where people really can make those connections. And this spring, we've actually seen increased use, obviously, over the fall, which is great, seeing about 650 visitors through a day. I wanted to highlight, I think, our CoreTech Apple retail operation, because I think that really speaks to how much people want to start coming back and being in person. And we've actually got some updates since these statistics were put in here. We've actually had over 200 in-person devices sold to students, as well as over 150 in-person service appointments in that location. As we continue to open up more and move towards more students coming back onto campus, we're just continuing to work to how we can be creative to accommodate that. So we've actually taken our event spaces and opened them up with physically distanced seats for study spaces so that individuals can find spaces that work for them and they can connect. It's been really fun to see, even at a distance, those connections and those conversations happening across spaces. Again, as we look to the future, we've started adding some seating back into our food court, adding some additional seats to some of the spaces that we currently have open. We've made some modifications to some of our ways that we are able to support events. We've actually renovated one of our meeting rooms into be a live streaming room on our 3rd floor, which has professional grade streaming capabilities. And we've actually modified all of our event diagrams to accommodate up to 25% capacity in creative ways that are safe and still create those opportunities for our entire campus community to engage, not just students, but faculty, staff, and the entire university community as well. And we've really just spent a lot of time working, as you heard from Dom, and you'll hear from student involvement next, on how we can support groups in being back in person. And that includes all of our Cub resident departments, as well as some of our resident RSOs, ASWSU, GPSA, and the Student Entertainment Board. But we're just really excited to see more people back in our space, and the energy that Mary Jo mentioned at the beginning, and those conversations that happen just in passing. So with that, I'll pass it off to Tamisha in student involvement.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. My name is Tamisha Greathouse. I am the Associate Director for Student Involvement. And I do really want to start by saying it's really through the work of Carrie and her team at the Cub that has really set up the safety protocols and procedures that have laid the foundation for my staff and I to really do the work that we do in student involvement. As supervisors and advisors, we host the knowledge to help students plan the events that they want and support the hundreds of student organizations that are here at WSU Pullman and make sure that they can have the experience they want for this year. I can say it's always great to plan events with students and think about how creative they can be. And I know with a time like this, they've adapted really well to the environment, but I can honestly say nothing has really matched the excitement that they've gotten recently when they've started to ask the question about what they can do in person and hosting an event in person or even part of their event in person. And our team is able to come back to them and say, yeah, we can do that and we can do more. And here's how you can do that safely and well. So this most recently for me happened with one of our grad student organizations planning the Coug Voices events that they're hosting in April and being able to go through the steps with them of what that could look like to have performances and possibly audience members in the space here while still keeping the campus community that is virtual connected to that event as well. Our students are really initiating these requests, like our student government, students from ASWSU, and our APAS students have really asked about how they can bring their communities back to meet in person and host meetings in person in the spaces that are being provided, while still keeping like the rest of their members connected. And through what Carrie has already shared, we're able to do that in a lot of the spaces on the Cub. And that also gives them a little bit of that campus vibe back, especially for our executive board members to kind of get that feeling and connection. I do want to share like one of our most recent events that actually went really, really well was with our student entertainment board. They hosted an event with Anthony from Netflix Queer Eye, which was a cooking event. And we were able to utilize one of the spaces on campus to do a live demo for our students, as well as working with our catering and dining partners to create over 200 ingredient kits that students were able to drop by to campus to have as part of that night to participate in the event. This really helped them kind of connect with the space, see what it's like, and also utilize a lot of the camera angles to get the most out of the event. And we're seeing a lot of that continue with a lot of the other events that are coming up. We've got students wanting to plan film nights and award shows and cultural performances. And to do that and enhance those events, they really do need the spaces to be able to do that, to like elevate those performances and fully get that experience. And that's for their performers, for their audience members, and for their clubs. And so we're able to really empower them and give them these skills and what we know and the knowledge that we have to make sure that they're able to get the events that they want to do and have the experience they want, as well as bringing a little bit of campus back to them and giving them a piece of that in this experience for this year. So with that, I will turn it over to my colleague, Alan, to share a little bit more.
Good morning, all. My name is Alan Sutton, and I am the Executive Director for the Office of Outreach and Education. And I'm going to talk about our community building and supportive environments that we are trying to kick off and open, mainly the Elson S. Floyd Cultural Center. And so what we'll be doing with the Cultural Center is we're going to try to kick off our efforts in making the ESFCC a home away from home for our underserved and minoritized students and all of our WSU students, actually. And so what we're going to do is incrementally start opening about twice a week and a few on the week of March the 22nd, on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 1 to 5 p.m., which will allow students to do what we're calling hamago, which is hang out, mess around, and geek out. And so we're trying to get them to get out of their rooms and just kind of have some fun in the space and see the space as a place not just for elegant events or conferences, but a place that's their home away from home that they can hang out and really enjoy themselves at. And so this, our hamago events will just basically be, having films set up for them to be able to watch, having board games for them to check out, creating study spaces for them if they just want to get out of their rooms and study. And it will also launch our Cougs Meet program, which will offer students an opportunity to kind of start building community amongst one another and, with their fellow Cougs and gain learning opportunities through various programmatic partnerships that we'll be setting up with areas such as our counseling and psychological services program, the Center for Civic Engagement, and our community equity and social justice areas. And so these programs will focus on everything from mental health to equity and inclusion education opportunities. So we're going to get these students out and just let them be able to RSVP spaces to be able to come in, and whether they're watching movies on Netflix or just kind of studying or really just, checking out Monopoly or something. We're trying to give them an opportunity to get out of their spaces and really just start building community and getting back some of that time that was lost due to COVID. And so we're hoping to set up the ESFCC as a place where they see, we're not trying to replace the Cub. We just want them to see this as an additional spot for them and a place for them to see themselves kind of hanging out and really just shooting the breeze or whatever they want to do, because students need those types of spaces. They need those types of areas to really blossom and grow and see WSU as a place for them. And so that's what we're trying to do with the ESFCC. And I will now pass things on to my colleague, Sarah Larson.
Thanks, Ellen. My name is Sarah Larson, and I am Director for Dining Services. Dining, we have been open and have provided continuous service throughout this pandemic. And it's been a long year. It's hard to believe it's been about a year. Our first efforts focused on rapidly implementing safety protocols and meeting needs. And since then, we've continuously evolved the way we provide services with a focus on how to best serve our students. So we've done that by leveraging several different things, but primarily some technology. We use the mobile order and pay technology platform called Get Food. This allows us to, for our students to order remotely, come in. We can make those all those meals to order. We can customize these meals, and it's very convenient. You can order from your phone, your tablet, or a laptop. We've reconfigured our kitchens, and I've asked a lot of our teams. We have incredible teams, very nimble and creative, and we've restructured kind of where they work and how they work. We currently have 3 dining center locations open, 2 markets, several retail restaurants, some espresso, and a small catering operation. Some of our successes, I'm happy to say we have a very safe work environment. We absolutely model the COVID best practices and do not have any transmission that has been traced back to dining. I feel very safe coming in every single day. We have a great sequester meal program, and we're very focused currently on our Change of Taste series. That allows us, we provide very high quality themed menus along with weekly rotations, and we really are actively communicating those changes to our students. We're a big employer of students on campus, and we continue to do that even though we're quite downsized now. And as we look ahead, I'm very excited for the rest of this spring and the prep we're looking forward with this coming fall. We expect a larger in-resident student population, certainly hope for that. And in dining, we're going to continue to adapt our services to meet the student needs and really make food a central component of the community building experiences here on campus. And so with that, I'm going to pass it along to our community building expert, Brandon, and have him talk to you about living on campus.
Thanks, Sarah. My name is Brandon Bracken. I'm the Director of Residential Communities, he, him, his. And just like dining, we've been open since the pandemic started. We couldn't close. There were students who just didn't have homes to go back to, or had technology needs that they needed to stay on the campus. And so we've really spent the last year redesigning and adapting our policies and our structure in order to meet the pandemic needs. And so we literally went through our ops manual, and almost every aspect of our job had to change in order to stay open and keep working and keep our students and staff safe. We developed a adaptive common space and guest policy with the help of EHS and Dean of Students that allowed us to phase in slowly expanding students' access and resources in the residence hall while still being able to monitor transmission rates and such. We created a sequester hall program where we could sequester students who were tested positive. We adapted our programming and intentional interactions model to create more intentional interactions, knowing that students will be behind their own single doors, right? And so we wanted to make sure that we had more planned and scheduled connections with students to make sure students didn't fall through the cracks or struggle with mental health, that sort of thing, so to meet that demand. And so it really has been a continually changing processes with every phase, state phase or federal guideline, we've had to redesign those policies. But through it all, we've been able to try to recreate the campus experience as best we can. We put on over 250 programs or events within the residence halls since August, many of them virtual or including like a large Among Us program, which is a game that I don't know why my kids like, but they love it. I've tried to play it. It's okay. But the kids love it. The students love it. So we did it. And it was very successful. We had over a third of our on-campus population participate in it. And we learned a lot of lessons and learned some new tool sets, including like how to provide digital programming, how that can reach some students who maybe don't want to come out of their room. So I think that's a tool set we'll keep in the future. But all of that still, it's not the same experience. And the students really want more interaction with each other and more on-campus experiences. And I think we're really excited to rebuild and enhance the Cougar experience next year. I think we have a unique opportunity. I think the pandemic has shown us as a society like the value of neighborhoods and personal interaction, where maybe that we've been moving away from. And so I'm expecting a huge swing the other direction. As soon as they're going to come to us and they're going to want those communities, they're going to want those on-campus experiences, they're going to want the face-to-face interactions. And I can't tell you, I think everybody on this call is super excited to rebuild and enhance the Cougar campus experience or Cougar experience next year. And with that, I will turn it over back to Mary Jo.
Absolutely. And Brandon didn't tell you about the cupcakes that we delivered to all of our residential students. They were called Jolly Rancher cupcakes. Huge cupcakes, Jolly Ranchers on top, and a giant cookie that Sarah's team had put together. It was great to connect with our students. I do also want to give our campuses on all of our campuses an opportunity to share with you what they're planning for the fall. Many of them, as I have said, have been continuing to remain remote due to the environmental restrictions of their campuses and communities. And so I'd like to hand it off first to Dominic from our Vancouver campus.
Greetings, everyone. Dominic Thomas, any and all pronouns. And I just want to take a moment and recognize our colleagues in Pullman. They truly have led the way, and a different dynamic and a different student population here and at our other campuses. So our dial is a little slower in turning up here in the student affairs realm. And we've continued with serving students, meeting their student needs at the moment, and having book drop-offs, food pantry open, servicing students in a different way. But our fitness center recently reopened, and that's been our first touch point for students in a co-curricular only environment. And some of our online activities and virtual activities have gone forward. And I think expanded view of programming for all WSU students across the system has really taken on a different meaning and a different level since the pandemic hit. But our next kind of foray in planning for fall is the summer orientation. We'll have some in-person and small pods. We've reconfigured our 104 entry-level class, and so we're weaving that into our orientation. And so we'll complete modules online, but also have a handful of students at times on campus and really be our first kind of activities on campus in person. Our planning for the fall starts with instruction. We'll have high flex instruction, which I think many of you have heard about, but we currently have 31 classrooms in planning for the fall. And in doing so, the space for students is key. So we've converted open spaces, classrooms that had normally fit 150 people will be reconfigured with plugins and hold 60 people. So we're maintaining the safety, the distance, and doing all that for fall. We have and will continue some hybrid services. And so you can see some of those listed with our library, computer lab, but some of those will be shifted, and we will be working remotely as well as in person and serving our again with that very different. And in terms of our food services, we currently don't have any going because our modality of instruction in a very different population, but it's something that we're assessing for the fall, exploring partnerships and looking at vending options and partnering with a bookie and doing something possibly a little bit different until we grow our modality of instruction to be fully in person. And then we can expand our food services back to where they were, which is nowhere near where my colleagues in Pullman are, but having some services that bring folks around the table and really engage students in a different way. And we're looking forward to it. And the fall is going to be that kind of blended time and really the turn to the next level for our dial moving up in student affairs here. So I'll kick it back to Mary Jo.
This is what happens when you forget where the mute button is. I'm going to actually hand it off to the Health Sciences Campus's Jim.
Excellent. So good morning, everyone. Glad to be here. We have a lot of exciting things happening now and also planned for the future. I think one of the things we realized recently was that in some ways, while student engagement has been a little lower in some ways, we've also seen some changes. So for example, some of our Yakima students have been more involved as we've put things into Zoom. So we're definitely looking at how do we continue to build on that momentum to keep them connected and get them even more connected. Because I think this has opened up everyone's mind to, hey, I can do things virtually in some respects. So we're pretty excited about that. The fitness center, I'm going to be excited about a lot of things today. So the fitness center, we had a small one, and actually we are in the process of just finishing a remodel. It's in the old bookie space. It's about 3,000 square feet. It's going to look fantastic. We now have a fitness, a group fitness area that people can go into, whereas we used to have to kind of fit between the machines if we wanted to do one or go in a completely different space. We have not just men's and women's locker rooms, we have gender inclusive spaces. So anyone can use the facility in ways that are comfortable for them. So we will be opening that based on all the different physical distancing needs and those types of things, so students can start returning in limited capacity. We're learning from Pullman and some of what they were doing. We've learned a lot from Pullman to make things happen and make sure we do it safely. Orientation, we're going to continue with our online pre-orientation. Actually, we happen to be in a place where in 2019 we had started working on one. And so when 2020 came, we were actually ready with the pre-orientation to go. And then we expanded the regular orientation to be virtual. So we hope to have some limited in-person activities along with the virtual piece to orientation. Our lounge spaces, we have lounge spaces open in SAC so students can still come in. While access is limited to just faculty, staff, and students get in and they use that space. Leadership and community engagement. We've done a lot of online programmings. This semester, we introduced a program called, I don't know why I always get it confused, Community Engagement, Action, and Leadership. And it's specifically for first year and underrepresented WSU Health Sciences. It was in our health sciences students. It was in response to hearing that our first year students were struggling to connect. So this was a way to do it through community. And so they're involved with discussions around racial inequities in healthcare, homelessness, mental health, and they're also learning how to work alongside local community partners in Spokane. So we're looking at doing that. Our Spokane Diversity Center, we're doing all kinds of programs around mental health in March, especially. We're looking at just doing a hike to get people together, physically distanced and masks and everything to make that happen. Also a virtual pet de-stress day. We typically have brought in animals that students can pet. It's considered de-stressing. So now we're doing it virtually and seeing how that works. So that's pretty exciting. And then we also have our other areas, admissions. We always do a medical mystery night, it's called. So it's a one-night program, and it brings in middle school students to, they're given symptoms and they have to figure out what the disease is, and they meet with our faculty, the faculty talk with them, they get clues. Well, we moved that to being online. We have over 150 students participating. Our student, and it's gonna be, instead of one night, it's over the course of the month. So they get new videos, they get to see what clues are from students from the different colleges and programs. So it's pretty exciting. And again, it's opening our minds to what we could do, because some students who may not have been able to participate in the past can participate, students and their families. So now we're thinking, okay, how do we keep this going? So that's exciting. Counseling, writing, learning, and accessibility services, still meeting those needs. Those will be done limited in person, virtual. We've seen an increase in counseling needs. We've seen an increase in writing. So those areas we're seeing increases in. And in accessibility services, we've had to provide some creative responses to the accommodation needs of students because of our unique situation. Classroom space, there'll be class is able to happen, but the rooms are going to be limited capacity. Yet we're looking forward to having some students back on campus on a more regular basis there. And enrollment of financial aid services, continuing virtual services. Problem with in-person is the proximity of students and persons, so we need to make sure they're safe if they're in an office having a meeting. And so we've had great success with that in meeting with our students. And I think that's everything there. So I would kick it to the next person, or to Mary Jo, to Evercoog.
Evercoogs, Mark Beatty.
Thank you. Thank you, Regent Sims, Regent Ramos, Vice President Gonzalez, and colleagues. It's wonderful to share with you some of the exciting things that we have had happening and continue to evolve here at Everett. Ours was the first campus to close March 5th, noon. We shut the doors, but we continue to evolve with our in-person opportunities, as well as enhancing our virtual aspects. So the student affairs and resident student organizations have been busy. They've hosted virtual game nights. We've had some drive-through events, meetups, events to encourage connection between the students, faculty, and staff. We will continue to offer our Career Week along with career services. This year's Career Week is featuring a virtual etiquette dinner across all campuses, as well as a panel, women in business panel. Watch the WSU Insider for an invitation to that across the system. And it is partnered with the Carson College of Business as part of our launch of the new Business Administration degree offering, our 8th degree, opening a degree program during a pandemic. Well, that just shows you what kind of Evercoog we are. We will have our live program, which will be a mix of predominantly remote forward digital events, but also some in-person as the summertime allows as we expand, as well as student organization fair. We will continue to identify resources that support our students financially through the food pantry and other fundamental needs. We've begun our peer tutoring program, which was created to meet this specific need for students to come together and to gain both emotional connection as well as academic assistance. And we've got an AmeriCorps person that is helping coordinate that. It's our hope that a proposal to invest in a half-time position for a student center coordinator gains some additional traction because of proof of concept that we're doing this in the remote space. Our summer session will move into a more hybrid model of instruction. We have had in the fall and increased in the spring about 40 students that come in at various times to access the high-tech labs that we have for our engineering. And that's been going very, very well. And so we will continue to evolve and enhance with that. Our other services in terms of food services, in terms of physical fitness and such, since we are on a shared campus with Everett Community College, we're working in close partnership with them. As they open up, we open up and have access to more things. And that continues to evolve as Snohomish County, the case rates continue to improve. And we're looking forward to great things this fall. Thank you all.
And I'd like to take a moment to introduce one of our newest colleagues to the student affairs community, and that is Dr. Kate McAteer, who is now the Vice Chancellor for Academic and Student Affairs at the TriCities campus. So Kate?
Thank you, Mary Jo. Good morning, everyone. So as you all know, the TriCities has struggled with its COVID cases in the past year. So as a campus, we have not being open for services. We currently have some students coming to campus in their engineering senior design projects, but all of our services have been virtual for the past year. So what that has really led us to examine in detail is how do we introduce social norms for being in the classroom, for interacting with student support services, because we know that almost half of our students that are coming to us in the fall are going to be setting foot on campus for the first time. So we have really been looking at that and trying to examine new ways to look at student engagement, both inside and outside the classroom. And when I need to give a shout out here to our Director of Student Engagement and Leadership, Ian Jameson, because he has really taken on the leadership of our student orientation, advising, and registration program, working in collaboration, obviously, with our academic advisors and our admissions team. But he is really focusing on that programming for new students and their families to really help some of these students that have now been virtual for a year, and how are they going to make that transition to more in-person instruction and services. Alongside the orientation for new students, we are transitioning our Jumpstart program, which was in the past for new freshmen, like writing support, math development, before they would start classes in the fall. So we're going to transition that to a summer bridge program for all of our students, because we know that many students are going to have gaps that might not have been there in the past. So working with faculty to really develop those programs for any student that feels they need some additional learning in the summer before they come back to campus in the fall. We do want to, similarly to all my colleagues that have realized this move to virtual has really expanded access for students to services. And we want to continue that, especially with our virtual help desks. Those have been very successful. There's expanded hours for students. The other service that I would guess it's the one service that we did continue to have on campus through the pandemic was our Cougar Cupboard. But for those of you that have been to the Tri-Cities, the campus is way up in North Richland. And, we have students that have a 30-40 minute drive or more to campus. So we put our Cougar Cupboard on wheels. It has been very successful. They load up the food onto a van and drive it out to our Pasco and Kennewick locations, which has really been appreciated by our students. The other thing we're very excited about is for our new academic building to open in the fall. This is a project very dear to my heart. The picture that you see here was taken prior to the pandemic, where we have students, because so really quickly, the students were very involved in the design of this building. It's really, I can't wait for you all to see it. It's all about collaboration and innovation between students and faculty, students and staff, students and community members. So it will be open in the fall, and it's really, I'll take the next slide now. It has really expanded our ability to have more classes in person, because even though I would love to put 100 students in those new classrooms, I am going to be able to put the classes of 25 into those. So it's really expanded our ability to offer more in-person instruction in the fall. Some of the things I just want to quickly point out that we have done during the pandemic that I think are going to have a huge impact on student success on our campus. The first is our improved counseling services. We hired a full-time counselor last May. So Sylvia is, just like some of our students, has never worked on campus, but doing a phenomenal job embracing a community wellness model and a 24-hour crisis support. We've also just completed interviews for a Mosaic coordinator. That person is going to be dedicated to our equity and inclusion initiatives and programs. Very excited with our candidate, and fingers crossed they accept the position. We are doing a lot of renovation on campus. In addition to the construction of the new building, we're renovating our library to be a learning commons, where we are going to co-locate our academic and student support services, because we really take that holistic approach to student success. And obviously with the new building, with the learning commons, and really looking at spaces for commuter students to be able to attend, like Dominic was talking about, the high flex approach to instruction, because we may have a student that's in an in-person class at 9 o'clock in the morning, and then has a 10 o'clock Zoom class. So we really need to create those spaces for our commuter students to be able to go back and forth between the different modes of instruction. And lastly, we are really excited to talk really quickly. Our campus is part of a pilot program for the Washington Workforce Portal. So this is a collaboration between the Association of Washington Business Institute, WSU TriCities, Columbia Basin College, and the TriCities Chamber of Commerce. It's an internship portal for our students. It's really, I want to again shout out to Jordan Creighton and Christine Cody and Student Services and Career Development to really establish a more outcomes-based approach and provide more equitable opportunities for our students in terms of student employment. So thank you, Mary Jo.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kate. And before we jump to Debbie at Global, I think it's really important to note that they've experienced something very different than our physical campuses. And so we wanted to make sure that you understood the depth of that, as well as how that has changed some of what we've done to support Global Coug. So Debbie, it's your shot.
Thank you, Mary Jo, and good morning, everyone. I'm Debbie O'Donnell, Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs for Global Campus. Pronouns are her and she and her. And Mary Jo, thank you so much for acknowledging that the experience for Global Campus students is just a little bit different. I remember shortly into the pandemic, several colleagues saying, oh gosh, nothing's really changed for Global Campus. You know, you're already online, so life has got to be the same. You know, and initially we thought, yeah, that's right. And then shortly into the pandemic, we realized, no, the situation was far more dire for our students as well. One of the things that we recognize, because our students are adult learners, the average age of our student is 31, that they're just dealing with a whole different set of realities. So many of our students really have experienced some significant financial challenges. And one of the things that we learned into the pandemic is that Global Campus students were not eligible for the CARES Act funds, but they were eligible for other emergency funding from WSU, which was wonderful. But you know, we wanted to be able to, and I wanted to share with you that our students, many of them are working adults, and many of them are parents and have kids at home that also needed to transition to online learning. And so our students were kind of competing with their kids in a way, not only helping them with their schooling and their homework, but really fighting for bandwidth in a lot of times. So that's been a real challenge for a lot of our students. And then also the reality that many of our students, because they are adults and they're out there and they're in the workforce, some of them are on the front lines. A lot of our students are working in those frontline jobs, such as grocery store clerks. We had a couple of people tell us about the reality of working at Amazon as warehouse workers, that they were truly impacted. Their coursework and their schoolwork and the time that they could dedicate to school was significantly impacted because they were called on duty and they were working shifts that they had never anticipated. So they're out there, they're risking their lives, and they've been, you know, really frontline. So kudos to our students, and just an acknowledgement that those are some of the realities for our students. So looking forward though, so the Global Campus continues to work with our academic departments across the system to offer, you know, that robust experience of learning online in an asynchronous format, and that will continue. So that really hasn't changed. But what has changed, again, is our acknowledgement that students are taking on a lot, and we're really trying to focus our efforts in the academic advising area to really help students become more focused and understand how much they can take on and continue to be successful in all the roles that they have to fill, not just being an adult learner. So that's been a good challenge and something that our academic advising staff has really been focusing on. And then, you know, we've always been online to offer student involvement opportunities, and we've had some fun with it, more so maybe this year than in the past. We found that a lot of our students are just interested in being able to have an informal place just to be and to meet and feel more connected to the Cougar family. One of the things that we did early in the pandemic was we set up a program called Cougs Chatting with Cougs. And it was really just, how are you surviving? What are you doing? What are the tips that we can all share to be successful in this new crazy world? And then a subgroup of that was for parents specifically, it's Cougs with Cubs. And so that was really fun for students to be able to share tips about how best to handle your kids are online, I'm online. How are we really going to make this work? So that was really successful. We've done all kinds of other things. One of the things that's been particularly successful is our bingo nights. And I know Mark Beatty has been involved in that too. We see him there every once in a while. So we're so glad for that, Mark. Thank you. But it's an opportunity for people just to have fun. We recognize that this is not a fun time, and anything that we can do to increase that engagement and that de-stressful situation, opportunities is really something that we're looking at doing more of. We also had an opportunity to do during football season, the virtual game day lounge, which was so much fun. And it really brought everybody across campus together. And we worked with partners at athletics, at alumni, and many other areas to really bring some fun and unique opportunities to all Cougs, which was great. I did want to talk also, it's not on the slide, and I think I've got a minute or two, maybe just to talk about some of the things that Global Campus is doing for outreach for students, and in particular, food insecurity. Our ASWSU Global has a food reimbursement program, and we're looking to expand that and offer some new and exciting ways for students to have more food security into the future. So we're glad about that. And then also, what's really interesting at Global is, our primary audience has always been adult learners. We're starting to see more freshmen being admitted into WSU Global Campus. And so recognizing that we have the challenge and the opportunity to really reach out to that particular cohort of students by using some of our student ambassadors to welcome those students in to Global Campus and provide some tips for how they can be successful in this new environment as well. That's it. Thank you so much.
So Regent Sims, I do apologize. Normally we have time for Q&A and I want to give that opportunity, but we really wanted to share all of the information of what's been going on all of our campuses. I have said publicly and privately that the student affairs team here at Washington State University is one of the best in the country, frankly, the world. And I'm glad that you were able to hear from them directly instead of me translating that work, because I think it's really important to commend them for the efforts, the time, the 24/7, the 365 perspective they have taken since COVID started. I know several of us worked through Christmas break, several of us worked through Thanksgiving to make sure that our Cougs have the experience that they need, but we definitely wanted to share that information with you. So please let us know if you have any questions or any comments you'd like to make.
Does anyone have any questions?
I do. First of all, huge compliment to you, Mary Jo, and Regent Sims for probably the most inspiring part of our next 2 days here. I just wanted to thank you. I am an alum of student affairs. I was an RA for about 3.5 years. And so coming from the fabric of this team, I just have a huge amount of respect and admiration for what you do. And I just wanted to say to Dom, Lucy, Ramon, Carrie, Tamisha, Alan, Sarah, Brandon, Dominic, Jim, Mark, Kate, and Debbie. Your names aren't on the agenda, but I was, it's really important for me to get to know you and to really understand the context. And you provide vital context to our WSU community. I just wanted to say thank you. I guess my question to you, Mary Jo, is there a standard feedback loop, feedback mechanism that allows each and every one of our leaders here to learn? I've heard it said several times, and I learned so much in this session, but in terms of absorbing all of the feedback from the rest of the student and alum community, how does that get back to you? And is there a standard mechanism? So that's my only question. I just wanted to really thank everyone for your time today. Thanks, Regent Sims.
Yeah, Regent Ramos, one of the things that we do, I mean, there's a variety of mechanisms. It can be everything from food count or counts of how many students are accessing services, for example, at our Compton Union building or a university recreation, versus what Sarah does in dining, which is an actual survey where students give us qualitative feedback about what is happening. And I saw a receipt from one of our chefs that said that the fish and chips was the best menu or item across all of the dining centers. And so it's that kind of feedback that we also take into account. So we do have both quantitative and qualitative. All of our campuses do it differently, but I think that's one of the things, frankly, our accreditation requirements that are coming up is that we have to get better articulating those feedback loops. And I will definitely, Regent Sims I can talk about it so we can present it on the May agenda where we're talking about all the data and resources that we're gathering from students in terms of feedback. We also, as vice chancellors, meet every other Tuesday. And so we're also talking about system level issues in terms of the surveys and the data we're receiving from our students.
Cool. Well, I'm new and I'm just trying to plug in and I'm carrying a couple of apps around. I'm not sure they're the right apps, so I may call you and make sure I'm signed in there. Thank you.
Absolutely. And and usually we would have a normal orientation session. We haven't had an opportunity to do that. And once we do, I'll go ahead and outline some of those places and spaces where we can get you some data accessible pretty easily, actually.
Regent Ramos is being far too modest. But I enjoyed the comments, but she knows a lot and I know she knows a lot.
Thank you.
Any other comments today? Mary Jo, I have some questions if I can. The one is you have a tremendous amount of information you've collected. And it goes back to a meeting that we had earlier where I was pointing out that the role of women that they played in 1918 and their diaries and their letters and much of the policies that are implemented today were the result of these women who decided that they should put all of their work in writing, so whether it was social distancing, cooking, how to handle people who were ill. I mean, it was just a ton of information, and it was used both by the state government and the protocols that Governor Inslee put in place, and used by President Biden and the protocols that he put in place. The Washington State University has taken it to another level. And I would really hope that, because I will continue to harp on this, that you will be able to collect how Washington State University went beyond any protocol I've ever seen. But when I was listening to you, I said, those are the protocols that we actually need to put in place. And so I would hope that, that you can, I always call it mature our approach as a state in particular to how we handle pandemics. We're going to have another one. I hope I would love not to see them again, but I was looking at a map the other day and I was going, oh, wow, viruses are alive and well, and many areas have been able to contain them, but there will be one that will not be contained in the future. But I would like for the work that's being done at Washington State University to be everybody's guide, not just the state of Washington's guide, but our national guide, the guide of other scientists and people who are practicing medicine. And, because I think that just listening to you, you did a lot, you do it very unassuming, but I'm telling you, you were breaking down a lot of walls and moving to doing things that are not normally done or have not been done before. And I just think that, Washington State University is a academic. That's, you come here for degrees and to learn. We have medical schools. So I would like, I don't know how to express it, but I hope that you would just say, in medical schools, you're going to tell us how we can do it better. And then all the other colleges and schools within the university, tell us how you did it and integrate that into something that we can offer the state. I think that once it goes to Governor Inslee, I can tell you it's going to move to a lot of other places. But you casually talked about things that were not done but worked effectively. Not done before. I was trained on this. I really was. And I was going, we didn't do that, but it worked. We didn't do that. We used to tell people, stay home and don't talk to anybody. So I was listening to how you handle things. I was going to go, not only was that smart because you get healthier if you have social distancing, but it was a really strict system of social distancing. So please, I hope you will endeavor to give us a guide. It may take you a year or two to finish it, but I think it would be incredibly helpful to a lot of people. And nobody can do it better than WSU. I didn't mean to give a speech, but I'm kind of begging.
I love the baking idea, Regent Sims. I joked with Sarah on occasion because I use her as an example where we were getting dining guidance on Friday, on Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday, and then Tuesday was something very different, literally at the beginning. And same thing with our recreation services, where it is a constant flux. I think I will tell you, we have already heard from our state colleagues that our event approval process far exceeds anything else that anyone else is doing. It's also why, frankly, that we have not had transmission in the workplace, in the student settings, student areas, because we have probably 30 people reviewing that process and asking questions about how you're doing this, how you're managing it, what are the concerns. And so we've already heard from the state, from our state colleagues that, wow, you were thinking way ahead of what we did. And that's only because so many of us have managed risk every single day. And we just added a few things to our risk management process. I'm grateful for the leadership of our compliance staff who also assisted with that. So Regent Sims, I will dare to endeavor to work on that in the coming year.
Thank you. Otherwise, because I'm gonna keep preaching on it every time I see you. How close are you? And if there's somebody in the way, tell them they can call me.
Sounds good.
Are there any other questions from anyone? I don't think we have any other items. Do we have any other items? Well, marvelous, 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 and encouraging, but just marvelous. So thank you very much for your commitment to the students at WSU, the faculty, and all the staff at all the campuses. But more than that, thank you for being in the state of Washington, where people like us can blabber at you and then ask you to guide us so that this state remains the model for how it can be handled in the future, because it'll come again. And the thing I really enjoyed was I go nuts staying at home. I have learned a lot about myself. And so I have walked more steps since I've been home because I just needed to get out of the house. That's just, so any other questions? I didn't mean to give a speech. Peace and prosperity to everyone. Please be well. Please take care of yourself. And again, thank all of you, every single one of you, for being on this call. Peace and prosperity and great health and well. Be well.
Thank you, Regent. Thank you, Regent Ramos.